All right, joining us now is former Supreme Court Associate Justice Antonio Carpio. Good morning to you, sir.
Good morning, Karen. Good morning to our viewers.
All right, let's get a deeper understanding of Sandy case or Pag-asa case. So you have China claiming that it's part of their territory. The Philippines, you have Filipino residents actually living on that particular area. But now Vietnam comes into the picture, protesting and claiming that Sandy case is part of their territory. Let's get the facts straight first. What does the international, in terms of the arbitral tribunal decision, where does Sandy case actually fall into?
Well, under the arbitral award of July 12, 2016, Sandy Cay is within the 12 nautical mile territorial sea of Pag-asa. So that was in fact stated there. It's really just within 2 nautical miles of from the low water mark, from the low tide of Pag-asa. So it's very near Pag-asa, within the territorial sea. And territorial sea means territory in the sea. So it's really part of the territory of Pag-asa. And Pag-asa is occupied by the Philippines, and even if there are other claimants, prima facie, we have sovereignty over Pag-asa since we've been occupying that since the 70s.
So just for the record, other than China, because Vietnam's foreign ministry has actually spoken, the minister, and they issued a statement, and they claimed that there are countries violating their sovereignty over Sandy Cay. They're referring to China and the Philippines. They claim it's part of their territory. And why is Vietnam claiming this despite the arbitral award?
Well, because the arbitral award settled only the maritime dispute. It did not rule who has sovereignty over the geologic features that are above water at high tide. So it settled the who has sovereign rights beyond the territorial sea. But within the territorial sea and the territory itself, the tribunal did not rule who has sovereignty over these geologic features. Now, Vietnam is claiming the entire Spratlys. China is also claiming the entire Spratlys. We claim about 95% of the Spratlys. So the reason why China and Vietnam are claiming Sandy case because they claim the entire Spratlys, which includes Pag-asa, and within the territorial sea of Pag-asa is Sandy Cay.
Okay, but then the difference between China and Vietnam, is this correct? Is Vietnam is technically not taking provocative actions when it comes to the Spratlys. Is that fair?
Yes, because there is a informal agreement among ASEAN states that they will not encroach on the geologic features already occupied by other ASEAN states. In other words, they will respect the possession without giving up their claim. They will allow other states that have already occupied these geologic features to remain there. That's the informal agreement among ASEAN states.
Yeah, that's the informal agreement among ASEAN states, and yet ASEAN is not speaking as one against China. It's the Philippines that's actually within ASEAN speaking against China's actions.
Well, that is correct. We are the most vocal because the other countries like Malaysia and Vietnam. Vietnam has a very long border with China, and Vietnam is dependent on China on trade because everything that they assemble in Vietnam comes from China. And Malaysia also has very strong economic ties with China, and they have preferred to keep their claim low profile.
All right. Now, as we actually move into one half of President Marcos Jr.'s administration, right? I think he would have 2.5 years to go or 3 years to go. What should the president be doing so his legacy, when it comes to the West Philippine Sea, would be immovable, would be firm and stable, regardless who the next president is? What action should he take?
Well, I would recommend first that that the president authorize the filing of a new arbitration case on the extended continental shelf beyond the Spratlys. We have filed our claim on the extended continental shelf. Vietnam and Malaysia have filed their claim, and China has opposed both claims, all the claims of the three states. And we have an understanding with Vietnam, Malaysia, and the Philippines. There's an unwritten agreement that this should be settled peacefully, which includes bringing it to an arbitral tribunal. But Vietnam doesn't want to file it first, and neither does Malaysia, because of their strong economic relations. And since we already filed the first arbitration case, we should be filing the second one on the extended continental shelf. So I think we should file this now, because under the rules of the UN Commission on the limits of the continental shelf, if there is opposition from another state, then the UN Commission will not rule on the claims. So this will drag on forever. And time is on the side of China, because China is getting stronger. We have to file the claim now before this becomes China becomes stronger, and China might enter into agreements with the U.S. that will prejudice us. So we have to file it now. And I think we will win, because China is so far away. It's more than 350 nautical miles away from this area, and you cannot claim anything if you are 350 nautical miles away. So China will definitely lose in this arbitration. As far as Vietnam and Malaysia are concerned, we agree that this will be divided equally, this maritime area that we're claiming, the overlapping area. And we will be happy. They will be happy if it's divided equally in accordance with the length of our coastlines. That's the de facto, the default solution under UNCLOS. The second recommendation,
and just to keep you on the first, if President Marcos Jr. does this during his term, the act itself is a win for him.
Yes, because
politically.
Yes, because in fact, Vietnam and Malaysia will welcome this. Only China will oppose it. But China is so far away; they don't have any interest at all under UNCLOS. So we are sure to win. There's no way we can lose this. So it's a win for him if he wants to have something, a legacy. No. A legacy for his administration. My second recommendation is on the territorial dispute, because the territorial dispute is not governed by UNCLOS. It's governed by general principles of international law. And what we should do is challenge China, Vietnam, and Malaysia to submit the territorial dispute to arbitration. That will be a voluntary arbitration, because they have to agree. Under the UN Charter, the rule is all disputes within states or among states must be settled peacefully by negotiation, mediation, and finally arbitration. And we are now at the arbitration stage, because we've been talking about this for the longest time. And we should file this. We should invite China, challenge China, Vietnam, and Malaysia, because we have the strongest title. And if we have the strongest title, we should assert it. Like, for example, Vietnam is claiming the entire Spratlys, but its claim is based on the annexation by France in 1933, because France annexed the Spratlys in 1933, and that was too late, because we claimed the Spratlys way back in 1734. We were the first to claim it. It's there in the Murillo Velarde map, the official map of Philippine territory during the Spanish regime. Vietnam is trying to say that they had all these maps, but they're very dubious. And China is just so far away. China claimed it only in 1947. We cannot lose this arbitration because we have the strongest title. We have the Treaty of Washington to support us. Under the Treaty of Washington of 1900, Spain ceded all the islands belonging to the Philippine archipelago lying outside the lines of the 1898 Treaty of Paris. And that includes Scarborough Shoal, that includes the Spratlys. That's very clear. So our strongest hand is the legal argument. So let's use it. Well, of course, China will not agree to submit this to arbitration, but the world will know China doesn't want to show its legal title, doesn't want to show its evidence because it's weak. China always says that they have indisputable title, but they don't want to show it. So let's force China to face the music, show it to the world. We'll challenge them. If they don't accept, then the world will know that they have a very weak hand.
Yeah, but then what difference would that make? The argument might be, what difference would that make considering that the Philippines has had a landmark decision on the arbitral award, right?
Well,
and yet China is not respecting, acknowledging it, and it is still acting in what it believes to be theirs. In other words, they do not respect that award. So you may have some sectors saying, gagastos tayo, pero anong magbabago? Ganun pa rin ang China doon.
Yeah. You know, before the arbitral award, China claimed the West Philippine Sea. We claimed it also. And the world didn't know who was right. Now the world knows that we are right, we are correct, we have the legal title, we have the legal basis, and the world is now supporting us. That is the value. Even if China does not respect it, the world now is supporting us because we have the arbitral award. The US is supporting us, the EU, Japan, India, South Korea, the rest, Australia, the rest of the world. China is isolated. We will do the same on the territorial dispute. Because without an award, without a challenge, then the world wouldn't know who is correct. Yeah. The only way that the world will know who is correct if there's a ruling or if the evidence is made public. We have not done that. We have a ruling on the maritime dispute. We don't have a ruling on the territorial dispute, and we have not explain to the world why we have sovereignty over Scarborough Shoal and the Spratlys. We have the strongest title. Why are we afraid? Why are we so shy in showing why we have the strongest title?
Actually, tatagalugin ko parang nanalo na sa una, tapusin na natin, buuin na natin ang panalo. Diba?
That's right. Because there are two parts to this dispute, the maritime and the territorial. Panalo na tayo sa maritime. Andito na tayo sa territorial. Let's proceed.
Okay. And I remember the victory actually of the arbitral ruling really proved that it's not might is right, but right is might.
That's correct.
Right? What is right, that is mighty. Regardless of whether you're a very small nation, when you have the law on your side, pwede ka lumaban. Kasi yun ang tama. Diba?
Yes.
Okay. Now, ang pangatlo, I remember when President Marcos Jr. came into power, you said the litmus test for him is to actually already start developing the Reed Bank, right?
That's right.
True enough, no action. And it's not unique from President Marcos Jr. to Duterte, even before with GMA. And during the time of Pinoy, I'm curious, did Pinoy have the biggest movements in the Reed Bank or wala rin?
Well, we had already awarded the service contract to a company.
MVP Group. The MVP group.
Yes, the MVB group. And they were prepared to go there twice. They contracted already the survey ship, the drill ship. But when they were about to go there, they were stopped by our government because China said there will be war if you go there. But China did that also, said that threatened also Malaysia and Indonesia. But Malaysia and Indonesia proceeded, and they were able to finish their survey and drilling. Why are we afraid?
Oh, that would make the difference. Do you believe? What
Yes.
benefit would it have for President Marcos Jr., his administration, and the country if during his term, we are already reaching half his term, if he already orders the drilling or the surveying or anything? What should start with the read bank?
Yes, he should start it already because we're suffering. The Malampaya is only supplying now 1.5 of our 3 plants, and the rest we're importing LNG, and it's very expensive. We are actually paying already, and by next year there will be no more gas from Malampaya. So that will be terrible for us. We will be importing LNG, and it's very expensive, and that's why nobody is coming here to the Philippines to relocate. Those American companies that are manufacturing in China would rather go to Vietnam or Indonesia rather than the Philippines because our power rates are so high. It's just too prohibitive.
Okay, now moving on to something else. Let's talk about these elections. There's been talk of Chinese interference in the midterm elections. In the Senate, Senator Francis Tolentino revealed a check coming from the Chinese embassy to a local PR firm, supposedly to troll certain candidates. Why is these elections? What is the effect of these elections when it comes to the West Philippine Sea dispute?
Well, if you remember a few years ago, Facebook canceled the accounts of several trolls coming from China because they were interfering. They were campaigning for the Duterte side during the 2022 election. So it's already established that these trolls are established in China. Now, maybe they're using now trolls from within the Philippines. But this is a problem that is easy to solve if we only have the political will. Remember, when the SIM card law was approved, there was a provision there which I recommended to the Senate to require all internet platforms to secure the real identity of those who use their platform. Because if you are, let's say, a YouTube or Facebook user, if you have to give your real identity, where you live, then you would not be so brazen to libel anyone. Because most of these users use fictitious names. And if, for example, you are libeled, how can you sue him? He's a fictitious person. When you ask Facebook the real identity, they will not tell you. So there was a provision there in the SIM card law which says the internet service provider must secure the real identity. And when they are asked to reveal the real identity, they must give it to the person who is libeled. But that would have killed all the trolls. But President Duterte vetoed that bill because of that provision. So all we have to do is just bring back that provision, or file approve a law, a standalone law on that provision, because then Facebook, YouTube, and all this rest will be afraid that if they do not get the real identity, they will be the ones who will be responsible. They will be the one who will be sued because they are supposed to get, because we don't have a redress if all this if you are attacked by a fictitious person in Facebook or YouTube. How do you respond?
That's true. That's
So you
true.
cannot even sue. You don't even know the real identity. So it is the responsibility of the service provider, of the internet provider, the to to secure before they allow that user to use their platform. They must get the real identity because otherwise they are in cahoots. They are also responsible. It's a very
Tama.
simple law.
Oo.
That
Tama
was
kayo.
approved by the Senate and the House, but Duterte vetoed that because he knew that will kill all his trolls.
Oo, yung troll farm. Actually, with that provision, wala nang troll farms.
Yes, because
Oo.
everybody will be suing and they will all be exposed as fictitious troll
Mm-mm.
farms. If you go now to, for example, you go to a newspaper now, print,
Mm.
you go to the internet version of the newspapers. I used to have a column in one of the newspapers, and in the internet version, the trolls would be attacking me, and all of these trolls have crazy names, Philippinensis, Boy
Yes,
Bukol.
yes.
But
Oo.
we all know they are fictitious. But
Oo.
the internet provider doesn't care because it generates traffic. They can charge more, and
Oo.
the newspaper, that's the online newspaper, also doesn't care because it generates traffic, but at the expense of the truth, at the expense of civility, and at the
Oo.
expense of the how can you now fight these trolls? They will just
Yeah.
attack you and you have no way to attack them.
Yes, and other than that, it's been proven today that cyber security is a national security concern.
Yes,
Right?
it
I mean,
affects.
yes, if we look at China, just look at China. Facebook is not allowed in China. You have WhatsApp is not allowed in China. There's so many foreign apps not allowed in China, right? They're stricter in China. And we can make that, we can draw those boundaries in the Philippines as well.
Yes, it's very simple. Require the online newspaper or no online publisher to get the real name of
Yes. Yeah.
the user and then keep it there. When you are libeled, any citizen can ask for the real name and can sue that person here. But right now, whom will you sue? The
Yeah.
name is Boy Bukol.
Oh, that's true. That's true. All right. Well, on that note, thank you for these strong points today. You made 3 good recommendations for President Marcos Jr., this administration, to strengthen his legacy when it comes to the West Philippine Sea and also when it comes to cybersecurity. Thank you so much. As always, former Supreme Court Associate Justice Antonio Carpio. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Karen, for having me. Thank you to our viewers.